All right. Are you ready? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Board of Trust Fund Commissioners. It's November 13th, 2025. It's 5 o'clock. If we could open with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just to go over a long dissertation of legal standards. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast live over the Lunenburg Public Access channel on Facebook Live on the Public Access Facebook page. There's a link on the agenda. And will be uploaded to the Lunenburg Access YouTube after the meeting. Additionally, please be advised that the town of Lunenburg utilizes the Zoom platform as host for its hybrid and remote meetings, that the Zoom platform utilizes AI technology known as AI Companion to create audio transcripts of meetings to aid in the subsequent preparation of meeting minutes, and that AI Companion is activated immediately upon launching the Zoom application. You are hereby notified that this AI technology may capture audio prior to the start of a meeting and or following the conclusion of a meeting. It's a hot mic, okay? This meeting will be held in person at the location provided on this notice, which is the Bellotta Meeting Room right here in Town Hall on Main Street. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. We are here. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminate if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for an in-person versus a virtual attendance. The following information is also provided for members of the public that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. To participate remotely from a computer, please use the link to join the public meeting webinar, which you can find on lunenburgma.gov under agendas, and find Trust Fund Commission and scroll to tonight's meeting. The number for that, if you want to join directly for Zoom right now, it's 766-316-7607. Or from a telephone, you could dial the toll-free number of 888-475-4499 and enter the same webinar ID, which is 766-316-7607. You hit the pound key, hashtag. If you have not registered with Zoom, you will be asked for your name and an email address. Please note that no participant ID is needed. You just need to press the number sign when asked, or pound sign, whatever, however you want to call it. Telephone users may dial *9 to request to speak after joining the meeting. So if you want to speak on Zoom during public comment, please hit *9 and we'll be able to see your request. Computer and app users may use the raise the hand feature to request, and that would be down at the bottom. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may be in fact discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. I would like to open the meeting to see if we have any public comment. Do we have any public comment here in the room? No, we do not. We have no public on Zoom. I will continue on. Does the commission have any public comment?
I have no public comment, Mr. Chairman.
Man, neither do I. Announcement and communications from other TRUP representatives. We don't have any communications from trust representatives. We are going to discuss some issues tonight regarding trust representation and how that is handled. Our scheduled meetings are generally every second and fourth Thursday. We'll discuss later on how we're going to handle Thanksgiving week. and whether or not we're going to follow through with that, follow it up with the week after on a different day. It's a host of stuff that we have to figure out for the next month and how that transpires. So we will let you know. And just so everybody knows that we are working every month and day to day, we're moving along. And the reason why we have 2 meetings is because we have additional work to do rather than issuing funds through application to the Trust Funds Commission in organizational manners and such. Hopefully this doesn't go on for too much longer, but we've chipped away and taken huge chunks, and we only have 1 or 2 items left to accomplish, which we will discuss later, which I'm hoping we can accomplish before January. Okay, Treasurer and Finance Director reports. We have none. I do have some finance reports that I will raise later in our meeting. At this time, I would like to go into new business. I'd like to take this out of order, and there's a reason for that, because things come up when they get added in, and like we had told you, that they may go in the order and they may not. In this instance, we're going to go out of order. I'd like to start with the meeting that I had with the school committee chairman, as well as the public comment that I made with the school and the work that the Trust Funds Commission has been doing with the school committee and the school district to be able to narrow down the differences between a gift and a trust and the authority and oversight of that, including to make sure that the trust itself complies with the donor's intent, which is the primary function of the Trust Fund Commission, to enforce the donor's intent, to interpret the donor's intent, and so forth, as well as meet the donor's requirements for the giving of the gift. So, that being said, I don't know if anybody happened to watch the school committee meeting last week, but on Sunday, the prior week, I met with Anthony Scalambrini, the younger, who is the chairman of the school committee with regard to scholarship funds that are held by the school in certain parameters. And within that, I did receive additional communication from the treasurer and from the town manager, as well as I followed up with that with some responses, of which we have acquired a list of funds that are held by the town that are scholarships. And what I'd like to do is, I would just like to open that up at the moment. Richard, you can find that in the drive file. If you go to the drive file and you go to where it says Finance Director, you will see
Finance Director, Treasurer documents.
yeah, you'll see what they call a municipal scholarship management letter.
Yep.
Okay,
6.
and then a scholarship fund quarterly report. You'll see both those documents. What I want to do is I want to open the scholarship fund quarterly report first, just to get an overview and to give the public an idea of what we're looking at. So there are some parameters with which the school committee and the scholarship committee, which is I'm not sure if it's a legal scholarship committee. I didn't get that far with the school district. So a scholarship committee is supposed to be the superintendent of schools and 5 residents on a scholarship committee. Nobody else, so everybody knows. It's a good opportunity if you like to give out gifts to deserving, individuals for their future. It's an excellent place to put your hat in the ring and do that. So it's definitely a very good civic duty to engage in that is quite independent, by the way. But again, there are certain parameters with regard to appropriations with regard to the check and balance of the donor's intent, and so on and so forth. And there's additional statutes that particularly statutes that govern the Massachusetts Uniform Trust Code. So there are a number of different things that come into play with that. That is a discussion that we're going to have today. But at first, I'd like to open up the Scholarship Fund quarterly report. And what I'd like to do is I would just like to make mention and kind of highlight some of these funds and let people know what we have. So again, some of these funds are independent funds that belong to independent nonprofit groups or independent groups that handle and manage the distribution of those funds in themselves that generally would not come through the Trust Fund Commission. But I just wanted to show, I didn't think to put this up here because this is just a comprehensive list of what's being held by the treasurer for the school district. This is not a confirmation that all these funds come under our purview. We're still in the process of investigating that under the statute to be able to make those determinations. So that being said, there's a lot of stuff that goes on here. Obviously, I'll just name a few that are probably outside of us. Lunenburg's Athletic Booster, that's probably outside us because of, the type of fund of which it is. But there are a number of funds that are in trust. And just because something says, doesn't say a trust does not mean it's not a trust. A trust has certain parameters, and there is a list of parameters which we've gone over on this board with the public of what those are. And we need people to understand that, when you give money to the town becomes responsible to the donor's intent primarily. And that is the duty of the Trust Fund Commission. And just to give folks an idea, I do have and have researched that the town of Lunenburg in 1946, they created the Board of Trust Funds Commissioners to manage trust funds in town. And at that time, Trust Funds Commission actually managed a lot of other funds that today it actually managed elsewhere. In that, just so that you know and understand the history of this commission and its duty. The duty of this commission has never been a light duty. Everything that I have seen, I will say that at one point in 1999 at town meeting, Article 14 to be specific, it was raised to get rid of the Board of Trust Fund Commissioners as a town vote because we are not a policy-making board, is what it said. And conveniently, it was the Finance Committee at the time said, oh yeah, 5-1, we're in agreement. Now, we are a policy-making board, just so you know. We do make policy for the management of bequests and gifts that are given in trust to the town for the benefit of the town, not just people, for the town or its inhabitants. So it's for both. So some of the money can be used to benefit the town as a whole, and it can benefit individuals depending upon that. And if you want to give a gift or bequest, we're open to taking that, and I can ask you for that as the chairman of the Trust Funds Commission, that if you do have a gift or bequest or would like to leave something to the town in your will, by all means, we're here to accept that gift. We're allowed to solicit that, and there's no conflict of interest with regard to the Ethics Commission on that. So that being said, I just wanted to show that there is a total. I'm going to give you the ending market value, okay, is, can I read that? I'm a blind guy. Hold on. All right, it says $659,320.49. Now, that,
Mr. Chair, I think it's 659.
is that a 6? I told you, I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know, my computer like reads weird. I don't know, where's the magnifier on this thing? I'm blowing it up by hand, so, as opposed to blowing the screen up. So it's what?
659,320.49.
And that's why we need a vice chairman, for when the chairman is blind, or his computer. So, that's good. So in that, I'm gonna leave it up to Richard. So that is, okay, how much we have, which is the ending market value at the present time. So that's what the value is of all these funds. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 funds, okay? However, there is more than 15. This is what I received from the treasurer. So what I received from the school has from the guidance office, who's the people that work in there, I'm not going to name who it is, they're responsible for, letting people know what funds are available for the students. It's the guidance office. So I received a list of, what funds were given and are given and are held, and I counted 51.
Big gap.
Yeah. So everybody knows. I don't know what the other ones are specifically. I don't know what these are specifically. So I did send an email asking for the declaration on all items held by the school within parameter of the statute, which I'm going to read to you, so that we can make a determination as to whether or not there is a question that we need to have answered for the public, whether or not these are trusts pursuant to the Massachusetts Uniform Trust Code. So that's MUTC. That's Chapter 180. I'll go over that in a minute. So in that, that's our duty, to make sure that any gift or bequest given to the town or for the benefit of the town or its people, okay, that we enforce the donor's intent to exactly what the donor's intent is. Now, you've heard me speak about real estate donations. You heard me speak about conservation donations, cemetery donations, things like that. So in that, it's been clarified that a number of different boards or commissions, okay, or even the select board, when it comes to gifts and donations, there are certain parameters by Mass General laws that has to be followed. It's based on the type of gift, it's based on what the declaration says. There's a lot of things that go into it that we will be reviewing, and if we have question as to whether they are should be considered a trust, we'll do that. If you haven't noticed, we asked right in the beginning, what is cemetery? We asked, what is conservation? We asked, what is the responsibility of the private trust company with regard to handling the individual funds? And is each individual trust group allowed to invest their own funds, which we are. But it's always better to use somebody with more skill than the people who are sitting on this board.
We are allowed, but we have not executed that.
That's correct. But every group in the pool is allowed. That's the point. It's not just the Trust Fund Commission that's allowed. So they could all utilize their own money and resources and put it into, whichever place that they want to. So they don't have to go with Bartholomew and Company if they don't want to. Like conservation has money to be able to manage conservation. I mean, that's, just money that they can use that's donated for the management of conservation, which, technically that might fall into that, and they could pay another trust company to come in. They could probably create their own trust commission board. I don't know how that works under Article 2 of the Constitution, which is what they fall under. So just so everybody's aware, okay, we've been pecking away here to show you the value of your trust fund commission in this town. Okay, it is a financial board that benefits the people. Okay, and it is not something that you get rid of. that brings me to something else that you've been seeing go on in here in town. And this is going to reflect upon what I said earlier about 1999, when they wanted to abolish the Trust Fund Commission by a town meeting, okay? And it was passed over at town meeting. So it never took root because they tried to accuse this board of not being a policymaker. Well, in that year, they also passed over, because it was included in the same article, Article 14 of town meeting in 1999, that the town clerk should not be elected, but be an appointed board, because they're not a policymaker. And now where are we today? Well, we have, let's get rid of the personnel committee. Boy, we just want to take everything we have here for the people, by the people, and just hand it over to the executive. Sorry. Personally, okay, and as a staunch constitutionalist myself, no way. No way. That's a non-starter. If this board is not active, we can create a policy that allows another board or a separate type of committee of other elected officials to determine whether or not a gift or bequest can be given out through an application process to a resident or to the town to benefit either the resident or the town based on the declaration of the donor. We can do that. That's called policy. So we are a policy-making board, okay? I love how it said, we're not a policy-making board. But then this board doesn't have staffed members. Who does it fall to? Nobody. Then we need a policy to allow it to fall to somebody, because this is money that goes to the community to benefit the residents and the citizens of this community, collectively and individually. And that needs to be protected. The only way to protect that is to create a policy of what the succession is of authority from this board. So when this board is not up and running, because right now, the select board cannot give out money in the trust fund commission. Okay. So obviously, depending upon the donor's intent. However, there's a conflict of interest there, because they're a fiduciary body, and the money here, okay, from a trust could be used to be able to benefit the town financially, which would put the select board at a disadvantage of being able to rule on something, or vote on something rather, vote on something. So, because why? Because it would be crossing into their duties of financial and fiscal management. You know, they can't say, oh, well, we have a gazebo fund and the gazebo needs to be repaired. We could just use the trust fund money. No. Yeah, that's there for that, but they're looking at two perspectives. How do I save money in the fund to operate the town, and where can I get the extra? They can't vote on that. They can't vote and say, we're going to use gazebo money to repair a gazebo that the town owns on town land from a private donation from a private residence. You see the conflict of interest there? And that's why the select board should not be allowed to handle the distribution of trust funds. Now, historically, prior to the 1755 or so, prior to that, the select board was in care of the poor. Okay? Or they had a committee that took care of the poor in the community. And if you were a vagrant that came from another community, you were looked at as, you need to go back to the community you came from to reap your benefit. You can't come into this one. So there was a lot of parameters that went on. Now, that kind of structure went on all the way up until the 1900s, till 1919, when the state passed the public welfare project. I can't remember the name of the statute. I have it. But so that's when the state took over taking care of the poor. But towns still had poor funds. We have a worthy poor fund. And in that worthy poor fund, it states that the money can be given out by the select board or for the persons responsible to care for the poor. Okay? So now I have a lot of overlapping statements here. I'm talking about scholarships. I'm talking about powers and duties. I'm talking about different kind of direction that the town has tried to take in the past in a historical context. And why is this? That's a good question. Why would the Trust Fund Commission be so interested in all that information? I'm glad you asked. Because the town manager hasn't done it. Or the treasurer hasn't done the investigation, or this board or previous boards, to determine this stuff that I'm bringing forward in detail to give to you for a better understanding. Why? Because these are people's hard-earned dollars that they wanted to give back to you, me, and the community. Isn't it right for us to be disciplined in handling their money? Isn't it right for us to understand the historical context of their reasoning? And who's done it? Nobody. That's a disgrace to those people, to those donors who gave to the town. That's not fair. So if you think that the Trust Fund Commission is some board that doesn't have relevance, it most certainly does. Okay? It keeps people's names in perpetuity in town, recognized for their interest in caring for the people in town. I don't know if you remember a number of years ago, Richard, if you watched the select board meetings, I would say, I am tired of you appointing people to boards that step up to that microphone and say, I love Lunenburg. Every person that said that got appointed. And then all of a sudden, it stopped. People didn't come forward and say, I love Lunenburg, okay? And they started to bring their resume because the select board started to scrutinize because they received pressure from the public, me, and a few other people in the public that had said the same thing and parroted the same thing I parroted, okay? And now people come before the select board and they actually do a public job interview now. It's no longer, oh, well, we really need volunteers and we're so grateful for you. Oh, of course we say that. But it's not just that anymore, looking like a beggar on the street. Oh, please come and donate your time and volunteer your time. Yeah, donate your time, volunteer your time to get people to write about you on Facebook, to get people to sit there and say they hate you. I mean, you know, okay, well, it takes a certain amount of thick skin, you know, and that's okay. That's fine. That's public service. That's volunteering for the public. Okay. So don't shy away from it, you know, gotta have some thick skin. But these people that gave these gifts loved Lunenburg, so much so they wanted their name in perpetuity and recognized for the love of their community. Now see, if you want to say you love Lunenburg, give the Trust Fund Commission a bequest in your will. Add your name to it and direct us to who to care for in town. And I can promise you, after this commission and the commissions that forward, as long as I live in Lunenburg, I will be sure that that name is recognized. So that being said, we're still working. I did get an email, the town manager and the town treasurer would like to meet, possibly in December, because the town attorney is now closing out a special town meeting. So in that, we have, you know, we have some work to do with them with regard to Cypre filing and the parameters for doing that. In the town manager's email, she says, I don't think we've done enough investigation on these funds for our board to file Cypre. Well, we can file Cypre. We don't need the town attorney. It'd be nice, but we don't need it. The Attorney General will tell us yes or no, and we can amend it, send it back, and amend it. We don't need to use the town attorney. We do need to use the town attorney if the filing itself is outside the scope of the administrative process with the Attorney General's office by years, more than, you know, less than 20 years old, less than 75,000. Do you know what I'm saying? Then we have to go to probate court. That's going to be the discussion next month with the town attorney, myself, Mylene, and the town manager. We'll come up with a date. see how people's vacations are and how crazy it gets. Welcome to the holidays. So, so that being said, so there is some movement that's being done and some prodding. But we are allowed to file, it's called the PCIF form, with the Attorney General's office because it is an administrative filing. And again, like I said, is there are rules under the Municipal Uniform Trust Code that has to be followed. And anybody who's gone to a trust attorney, they're under the same guidelines that we're under, okay? We need to make sure that the donor's intent, okay, even if we were to change it or alter it, still meets the donor's intent. That's the primary function. And if there's a question, the Attorney General, I spoke with the Attorney General Office of Public Charities, and they said that you don't just get a denial, okay? You get a denial sometimes with a correction. Sometimes there's a phone call that's made and said, how are you wording this? Okay, it's not something that's, you know, specifically worded because they're expecting individuals to come to them, the regular citizens to come to them. You know, they're not expecting lawyers all the time. So these are things that we can do, and I will review them with the lawyer on that as soon as we can get a few ideas. But Rich broke it out. Do you want to give the parameters in there? Can you see where it says down the bottom?
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about having to be signed by the town manager, the select board, or
No.
town attorney, or anything like that. There's
It's the trustee. The trustee. And I need people to understand, we are the trustees. So we carry a lot of weight to do things here because we can carry weight to make policy, okay? There's a lot of things that are involved in the Trust Fund Commission. And once we get all the historical context together, we do all the information. I still have a number of different earlier minutes to go through at the library and things like that through their books and some of the town meeting reports. I'm back to 1999 so far. So there's a lot more. I've gone through the archives at the state. I've looked at the different session laws and changes. I've looked at the different acts which come under the powers and duties of the Trust Fund Commission, as well as what funds come under our purview. You know, I've done all this investigating. I've also spoken with people at the Attorney General's Office on Public Charities. I spoke with the State Auditor's Office with regard to the auditing process for trust funds within the town of Lunenburg, as it has to do with our funds specifically, if they are handled by a separate division in the auditor's office. I've talked to the Division of Local Services. I have talked to the Criminal Bureau at the Attorney General's office. Yeah, I know you would think, why would you go to the Criminal Bureau? Well, because it's an enforcement action. So there are enforcement actions that can sometimes happen or occur. So who handles those enforcement actions and how is the enforcement action handled? You know, people don't go running out to try to throw town officials in jail right away. They take town officials' responsibilities quite seriously, and you know, there's ways to be able to have those discussions. So I've been in contact with all these agencies. I've been in contact with the Ethics Board. I've been in contact with the, with regard to conflict of interest. I've been doing the investigation that this board has allotted me to do, and I'm doing that. And I'm getting everything I need answered, and then I'm trying to share some of it. So, that being said, this is where we're at, okay, with regard to scholarships. This is my conversation with the school. This is where we're at with everything. You have to remember, everything is encompassing here, okay? Who's got what authority? How is the authority managed? When do you go to court? When do you go to a state agency? There's a lot that's going on here. There's a lot of moving parts, okay? And it's a pretty seamless operation when you have cooperation from everybody and not everybody saying, well, those are my funds. Well, those are my funds. Well, these are my funds. And back and forth and back and forth. There are some towns that direct the trust funds of the cemeteries. There are some towns through the Trust Fund Commission. But conservation you can't. Historical you can't. They're a nonprofit. You see? I mean, this is what I'm trying to explain. So I want you to understand that this board has done its homework. Town manager still thinks there's still a little bit more work to do. But then she yelled at me for wanting to use interns. You want more investigation done, I need more people.
I just wanted to swing back to your comment about looking to abolish the trust fund commission. And the reality is, in the greater scheme of things, if that were to happen, this would fall at the bottom of the list of everybody's list. With all the issues of negotiating contracts and budgets and everything else, this would fall in the town's, scheme of priorities. Probably fall pretty low. It would probably be pretty much ignored.
Okay, so
if it weren't for the existence of this,
I'm gonna answer that to you.
really be nothing happen. Nothing would happen.
I'm gonna answer that for you. So, after election,
It's just reality. Like
I know, after election, I got a phone call, okay, from a present official, elected person in town and former elected person in town. I'm not gonna mention his name. We get along. Everything's fine. He said to me, what does the trust fund commission even do? They just meet like once a year and they give a report to the town. He said that to me, and he sat on boards. So it already was at the bottom of the barrel. Because they had nothing in place, and they didn't advertise it to the community that there's financial resources available to help people or to assist the town. So yes, I agree. And just as of in the last year, I got told, what does that place do? They don't do nothing. You heard a resident come here and engage in a plethora of questions before us when we first got here in July. And he asked this question and that question, and I allowed it. And the reason why I allowed it was because of the phone call I got. And now I have a resident here who has a million questions. Oh, nope, I'll shut everything down. What? Oh, yep. Residents' concern comes forward, gives us an opportunity to explain. And I hope, since, Richard and I have been elected, I hope everybody is understanding what this board is doing and why and what the value of the trust fund commission is. And the fact that we have a vacancy with such a, I guess you could say, an austere position in town to be able to help residents in town, the poor, to help, maintain sidewalks. I mean, we have a sidewalk fund. Help veterans. Let's be realistic here. So this is a very austere position to sit in. And the fact that people don't want to sit here and give of their heart to the people that need stuff in town is beyond me. Beyond me. Everybody's like, oh, I'm just such a wonderful person. Well, we need a very austere person here.
Because as staff, if you and I do not agree on something, we're ineffective.
Dead in the water.
We can't do anything.
Yeah, dead in the water.
We need that tiebreaker.
Right, and if you notice, okay, there's not much debate in the organizational process because Richard is an accountant. Richard's looking at this going, wait a minute, you've heard him. And I like history and law. So I look at stuff and I go, why is this not operating properly? So between the two of us, and then sharing that back and forth, we're able to educate the public. Why the position to sit on this board is an austere position. It really is. I mean, I would say this. If I had a choice to be appointed to the Finance Committee or be appointed to the Trust Fund Committee, I know being appointed to the Trust Fund Committee, I would be doing more for a citizen than trying to regulate what tax not to give you or what tax to give you on a finance committee. What money to take out of your pocket. Over here, we want to give it out. And that's great. That's great.
And without a third person, we're going to be hampered possibly in that ability to hand things out if the two members kind of are at different sides of
A particular person's
request.
application.
Application, right. So
That's correct.
So we will be stalemate.
Yeah.
Or in some cases. Maybe we'll agree on some portion of them, but there could be ones where we just have differing opinions and having this third person.
And now,
is really don't
now
work.
we can't award it because
It's 1-to-1.
there's a split. And you know, that's not good for the person that made the application, you know, for us not to be a full board, you know, and have that one swing, you know what I mean, to help the other, you know, and, you know, have a healthy board, you know. But yeah, but we're doing pretty good. I hope you all like it. No, it's not easy, all right, but we're getting there. We're getting there. I told you, November, we'll be right there. Just have to finalize probably a few legal things, stuff like that, and here we go. We're going to have a meeting in December. So evidently, you know, my speaking publicly has, you know, garnered the acknowledgement of the treasurer and the town manager, the seriousness of this committee, this commission rather, that, you know, we want a process in place, and we want policy in place, and we want people to know. So in that, I want to read to you, I sent this out after I made the public comment to the school committee, and I got the email from the town manager with regard to, excuse me, I'm trying to find it. What I got from them, when I got the email from them asking about certain things, because they said, they gave a rebuttal. If you go to 44 section 53A, where it says trust fund acceptance. Do you see that file, Richard? It's in the same file we were just in. Third one down from the top. Did you find it? It's in the finance director file.
Yeah.
And then it should be like the third PDF down from the top. It would say chapter 50, section 53, chapter 44. Do you see it?
Acceptance and disbursement?
No, it's in the file under trust fund commissioners, obviously. It's in the file that says finance director, treasurer, financial documents. It's in the same one that you opened up the scholarship fund quarterly report in.
Is it the acceptance or the?
It's the acceptance, yeah, it says trust fund acceptance.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. Notice the highlighted portions.
Yes, yes.
So the highlighted portions I received from the town, the town treasurer. This is the administration of the government under Chapter 44, which is the portion of municipal finance. She sent me, she didn't send me the Shepherd's link from Westlaw. She sent me just what she found online. Which a lot of stuff isn't up to date. They're behind 2 years on any Mass General laws that you find online. Those haven't been updated in probably about 2 years. They're still updating. So anything new, this is why I try to always talk to you about the laws that I find are looked up through Westlaw, which is an up-to-date program. See if there's any slip opinions or anything like that that come up out of the Supreme Judicial Court that are not published yet into a book. It will direct me to the particular case so that I can review that. So a case could happen and be decided last month. I'll see that slip opinion. Same thing with the appeals court. So slip opinions are basically cases as they arise and happen. They don't get put into a book. They call them slip opinions. And then in the next year's printing, they go in the book. That's how that works. Just so everybody understands what a slip opinion is. So she had highlighted a couple of areas here about accepting gifts or grants of funds from federal government, charitable foundations, or private corporations, or an individual, and how those funds are expended. She's highlighting 53A. Okay, so again, I don't know if you remember, a few weeks ago, I went over what is the difference between a gift. You've heard me say it before. Even though it doesn't say trust, it can still be a trust based upon its parameters and what it is. And the application and function of government and how that works. This is talking about grants and gifts, expenses and expenditures of something different. It's kind of hard for me to say this. So it's the same, but different. And I had written a letter back to them outlining each individual section and how those things apply. Okay? So these talk about your form of government and how funds are expended or approval by the city manager, city council, or by the mayor and city council, or towns by the board of selectmen. There are grants and gifts acceptance. So there's a difference between a trust, a grant, and a gift. This is on grants and gifts. This is not on trust. Okay? A grant and a gift, okay, doesn't come through us. Okay? But there's confusion because people think that a scholarship is a grant. No, a scholarship is a grant or a gift if it fits certain parameters. But it's a trust, again, if it fits another set of parameters, of which I did go over previously. Okay? All right? So if we go back to that file.
So that's the 51 to 15 difference. 15 trusts, but there's 51 gifts.
Well, here's the thing.
You asked the guidance council, how many things can students apply for?
Well, some of the things say, like, they don't use the right wording. So I want to see the declarations. Like, what is this used for? And then mark the check boxes. This is a trust, this isn't. This is a trust, this isn't.
If it's 10,000, you can spend over 1,000 a year for the next 10 years, that's not a trust.
That's right. That's right. Well, unless there is specific language in there that makes it a trust. That could still be a trust. There's specific language about how it's done, right? I give to the town of Lunenburg to benefit the schools a sum of money of $10,000 to be given out to scholarships for persons who want to become nurses. Okay, it's very open-ended, but it's a trust. And it's a trust because it gives a specific direction. It's for a specific purpose, directed by a specific person's request, right? Who is giving the money to the town for the use of the school. So the school does not own their own money. The school has an accountant who shows their own books and budgets and works with the town treasurer, but the school does not get its own money. It's not like the treasurer here writes a check to the school and says, here's your money for your budget. No, the school says, here are my expenses. The treasurer has a team, a finance director, herself, and an accountant who sit there and disperse money. Okay? So that's how the process works. So the school doesn't have any money. So here's the thing. So Jody Fortuna told me that she was going to talk with her lawyer and all this other stuff. And then I got the email from the treasurer, Calvin Copper, the town manager. So, so in that, there was discussion. There's discussion with regard to what this is. But I still, and I have requested, and I have not received yet, the declarations that are listed on those. When I met with the school board, Ms. Fortuna wanted to uplift her school committee and say, well, I won't do the beck and call of the trust fund commission. I will bring it to the school committee and let them decide. Those were her words. Well, I'm going to tell you right now. So the school committee does not have authority to give me anything. So the treasurer gives me everything as the commissioner when I ask for it. That's how that works. See, the commission is asking for it, okay? It's not a board request. We don't have to vote to ask for it. I have to require it to bring it to you. So it falls on me, okay? I have to get it. I have to bring it. And I have to present it. So Ms. Fortuna is incorrect. I don't need the permission of the school committee to get anything that belongs to the treasurer's office. And that would include the declarations, because the treasurer is not supposed to be writing checks for any scholarship money unless she has a declaration on hand downstairs in that office. And I have to be honest with you, with the response that I received from Ms. Fortuna about pushback that she won't do the bidding of the trust fund commission. She'll do what the school committee tells her to do. She's incorrect in that response. So she should be, her lawyer, which she said she was going to talk to, I'm sure she's going to, she needs to make sure that all those declarations for every single dollar spent is in the treasurer's office, because she does not have the authority to oversee whether or not it fits the declaration or the gift parameter. So whether it's a gift or it's a trust, Ms. Fortuna, you need to give those paperwork to the treasurer, whose finance director needs to review that before telling the accountant a check can be issued. And that's how that works. That's how that works, yeah. So the school doesn't own any money. The taxpayer does. And that money is held and protected by your treasurer and your finance director in that office downstairs. And not one disbursement should be given out without the treasurer verifying that the gifted parameter is met or that the trust is enforced. And if it's a trust, she has a duty to say, hey, this has to go before the trust commission, because this is technically a trust under the under the Massachusetts Uniform Trust Code, period. And now that I've discussed that, any question? Let me get into the letter. So there's a letter, I'm sorry, we've got one more document that I want to go through. So then she brought up school gift acceptance and disbursements, Chapter 71, Section 37A. Okay, again, here we are. This is under grants. This is not under trusts. So she sent me documentation to highlight grants and gifts. That's okay. They're not trusts. So there's a little bit of, I guess, confusion. I'm going to be honest with you. This is not so much as confusion as it is pushback. I don't think it's confusion. I can read that myself and see that Section 37A says grants, acceptance, and disbursements. Doesn't say trusts, acceptance, and disbursements. So there are different grants. I talked with the Division of Local Services. There are different grants that schools are given. So one grant could come from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. A grant could come from. There's a whole host of stuff.
Doesn't say individuals at all.
Huh?
Doesn't say individuals.
No. The other one
This
says.
is corporations, private corporations.
Right.
Charitable foundations.
Yep.
Agencies, state, federal government, county, municipal, but nothing from individuals.
Right, but these are grants.
Yeah.
These aren't scholarships. Okay?
Grants or gifts.
But again, ready? This falls into, the select board has authority over grants and gifts. The school committee, okay, the school committee only when told, okay, the only parameter that I found that the school committee has authority over as far as any kind of appropriation is a grant or gift under Chapter 60, 30C, 3C rather. And I'm gonna go over that with you. That's a little, so the town can vote and elect to, which we haven't, which this would be a great idea, okay? To put a checkbox on your tax bill or your excise tax bill that gets sent out to you and says, do you want to donate $1? It's going to be a minimum of $1 to, the law says that, to the Lunenburg Scholarship Fund. Okay? That would come down under Chapter 63C, and the school committee could get that money and appropriate it. Yes. I told you, Anthony, I'd bring that up and give you kudos. Okay? You can get more money by putting a warrant article for that and allowing a checkbox to be put on the bills and let people make, their donation. And that goes in a separate fund that the school committee has full appropriation for. Do you see my point? So, that's a good idea. Let's see how the school committee put together a warrant article and do it. I'll vote for it. I think that's a great idea. I'll give $1. I give $1 to political campaigns. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It says on my taxes to give $1 for a political, I check yes every time. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. I don't know. does that go to, like, my party that I vote with? Or, do you want to give to a political, okay. Why? I don't know. It further enhances, the great state of, the great United States and its evolution. So that being said, I sent out kind of a letter, and you can find that in the same document file. You'll see what it says. It says, just bear with me a second. Oh, what's going on here? Okay. Oh. All right. So you'll see municipal scholarship management letter. Now, just so everybody knows, there's a lot here, okay, that not here. This is going to be real quick. This isn't going to be like some of the other stuff I've read, okay? Because I still want to talk about a couple of other funds, okay? But this is an important thing. This came up recently, and I think that it's important that we resolve it and put it before the public. And just so the public is aware that before we file those Cypre documents, Richard, I am, and I'd like to ask you, I'm interested in having a public comment period on it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because if we're going to make any changes or alterations, I want to hear from the public the changes and alterations that they think that fit into the parameters of, the particular changes that we're recommending. I don't want us to have that unfettered control without the people in town being able to have a say. And for us to be able to hear that and then hold a vote on the changes. And again, like I said, what could happen? We could get stalemated on a couple things.
So would you propose that the agenda reflects some hint of what the Worthy Poor Fund?
No, I would recommend that the agenda will post the text
Right. So,
of the fund as written.
as written.
And the
What
town
propose
clerk's
it to
gonna
say?
get mad at me, because she's gonna like, you have 30 pages for an agenda. She got mad at me already because I had 2.
Well, the
So I
current,
condensed it down to 1, just to make it, because they only have so much room on the board.
yeah, but the current Worthy was just a handwritten, it was literally.
Right, but
it was
I want to
it was
type
literally
out.
like a quarter of a page.
I would type it out,
Yeah.
exactly what it says, and I think what we could do is I could get it to Kara, and Kara can post it onto our page on lunenburgma.gov. And that way there, people can go there, they can read it, and then they can see the proposed changes, and then the agenda will just highlight
There you
the date.
Right, if you have comments, please participate.
Comment,
in person
participate.
or online on this
Correct.
date, because this wording is gonna be interpreted
It's going to be,
this way.
exactly. And I think that because it's money that's being given to the public, there may also be some folks that are distant relatives that don't come forward right now with some of the changes or have some understanding of the funds, like the gazebo fund, sidewalk fund, things like that. Okay, American Legion funds and stuff, that we have a public comment period on that before we take any action, even when we take any action in probate court to make any changes of any of the funds. And some of the funds are not substantial changes, we can't give out money just to post 283 members. There aren't any, because there's no post. I mean, that has to get changed. That needs to go to court. That's what I'm gonna talk about next month with the town manager and the lawyer and stuff. So the thing is that, but any kind of changes, like we're gonna have to change what a sidewalk fund, we don't have wooden sidewalks anymore. So we're gonna have to change how that is. The gazebo fund, I have some history on that. Gazebos were a place for people to gather, to hold bands and to do things. You know what I mean? And the gazebo fund, the way it is and the way it's written, isn't. So we have to figure that out by looking at historical context. But during the late 1800s, early 1900s, gazebos were a very big gathering place for the community, usually in a very large public area, like a common or things like that, like we do here. It's the same thing. I mean, they bring the band now underneath patios because it rains on them, and there's more space, and it's also a little bit quieter because it's off the road, because, it's, nighttime, people are driving up and down the road and stuff like that. It's kind of, so it's a good idea that they go underneath the patio school overhang, and then if it rains, it's still a good thing. And there's some trees over there to keep you from getting wet, where there isn't any on the common. So, so that being said, there's some of that. So I hope, I hope everybody understands that a lot of this work is just work. We're not really handing anything out because we can't. I do have an update on the application. They're working on it. There's a couple of parameters that we'll have to make some changes on, which is giving out money to, persons, the American Legion gave money to people who were in need that were military. But most places, you can't become a member of like the Veterans Club or the Legion or things like that, or some of these other veterans organizations, when your DD 214 says you have a general discharge or an other than honorable discharge. A general discharge, just so everybody knows, is they kind of let you keep your benefits, but you're not a worthy or becoming person in the military. It's just short of a court-martial, where an other than honorable is more like a court-martial under the rules of conduct. So, in part, so that you can acquire, a VA home loan, or, you know what I mean? So, there's a couple of different things, but, again, these are things that, I don't think that the American Legion backs with anything that they would have backed, that if you were not in a good standing military person, that you should, you should receive any benefit. From anybody in the community. I mean, just because you went and fought in war doesn't mean anything, when you don't follow the rules, and then you get thrown out, tossed out, or you get, there are some branches that actually react, like the Marine Corps, reactivate you 20 years later because of something you did. They'll reactivate you in court-martial 20 years later. That's in the rules, My son's going to go in the Marine Corps. So, I read all the rules. So I could teach it to him.
What you're getting into, right?
Yeah, I want him to be fully informed. Know exactly what his responsibility is. So he becomes a good Marine and honors this country. All right, so I wrote this up. Municipal Management and Scholarship Gifts and Trusts in Massachusetts, okay? So this letter provides a comprehensive overview of how municipalities in Massachusetts may accept, manage, and invest scholarship funds with reference to applicable statutes under the Mass General laws. Scholarship gifts, listen to the language. Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A, municipalities may accept gifts or grants of money or property from individuals, corporations, or other entities. These gifts must be formally accepted by the appropriate municipal authority. Ready? Such as the Board of Selectmen or City Council, and may be expended without further appropriation, provided they are used for the purpose specified by the donor. Again, gift. For educational purposes, Mass General Laws, Chapter 71, Section 37A allows school committees to accept gifts and grants for scholarships. These funds are deposited within the municipal treasurer, held in a separate account, and may be spent by the school committee without further appropriation for educational purposes. Okay? That doesn't mean post-secondary educational purposes, just for clarification. Educational purposes means for the schools. Scholarship funds via tax checkoff. Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 60, Section 3C permits municipalities to establish scholarship funds supported by voluntary taxpayer donations through a checkoff option on tax bills. These donations are deposited into a special account managed by a scholarship committee, which includes the school superintendent and appointed residents. The committee selects recipients based on financial need, academic performance, and other criteria. Thank you for giving me pink. Scholarship trust. I can see when you highlight it. Scholarship trust and oversight. It's pre-editing, sorry. Scholarship trusts and oversight. Scholarships established as trusts fall under the governance of the Massachusetts Uniform Trust Code, codified in Mass General Laws, Chapter 203E. This code outlines the creation, administration, and enforcement of trusts, including requirements for a lawful purpose, identifiable by beneficiaries, and fiduciary duties of trustees. You see all the specifics? So it could say it's a gift, but it could act like a trust. Importantly, any scholarship established by a trust is subject to the management and appropriation authority of the Board of Trust Funds Commissioners as provided in Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Sections 45 and 47. This board is responsible for managing all trust funds given or bequeathed for the benefit of the town or its residents unless the donor specifies otherwise. And I explained this to you before, okay? The board must invest the funds prudently, meaning we can invest it, which we've left to Bartholomew and Company through the Treasurer's Office. Maintain detailed records, which we get from the Treasurer's Office and determine, and we do have a report on that I do have from her quarterly. And report annually on fund activity. Trustees must comply with the Massachusetts Prudent Investor Act, Chapter 203C, which requires that trust assets be invested with reasonable care, skill, and caution. Trustees must consider factors such as general economic condition, inflation, tax consequences, liquidity needs, and diversification. Additionally, Mass General Laws, Chapter 203D governs the allocation of principal and income in trust administration. Trustees may adjust between principal and income to ensure fair distribution and compliance with the trust terms, especially when income-based distributions are required for scholarship recipients. Again, see? In summary, Massachusetts law provides municipalities with multiple mechanisms to support educational advancement through scholarships. Gifts may be accepted and spent directly by municipal or school officials, while scholarship trusts must be managed by the Board of Commissioners of Trust Funds. Trust assets must be invested and administered in accordance with fiduciary standards and statutory requirements. So, that was a letter that I sent in response to what I had just read to you with regard to scholarships. These are grants, these are gifts, okay? I've also forwarded off to them, I don't know if you remember, but I gave a very long dissertation on grants and gifts and what's the difference, between grants and gifts that are personal property as opposed to monetary, as opposed to a gift that is for a specified purpose, like, buying bulletproof vests for the police department. That would be something the select board would accept and approve, and that would be given to the police department to buy those items. And that means that the police department would have to submit an invoice for the amount of money, submit it to the treasurer to have it paid for to the company, just for specifically what? Bulletproof vests. Do you see how that works? It's not that difficult. So this is what we do. Look at law, find the answers, meet with the bureaucrat and her employees. That's it. It's that simple. And there's nothing wrong with it, as long as everybody's willing to seamlessly work together to be able to come to a meeting of the minds, okay, in a manner that respects the law at the same time as the donor's wishes. And like I said, a donor cannot leave money, I know I've looked at some stuff, and ready? For the education of white women. Okay. Well, that's not enforceable today. I've seen that. I literally read it, and I went, what? Not here. I read it. A town had to go into court, and it said, to educate women. They took white out. Okay? Why? Because it was done in 1870, and somebody left money for the education of white women. And because of the Civil Rights Act in 1964, do you know what I mean? And, women's rights in, 1918, okay? I mean, it's kind of funny, my son's on that period right now, the colonial period. Yeah, in school, it's kind of interesting, because I know a lot of it, and I just kind of sit back and laugh. I told him the other day, I said, did you know before 1975, a woman couldn't get a mortgage unless a man's name was on it, or a credit card up until 1978? He goes, what? I go, I'm telling you, right? I go, you have no idea how far we've come. I told him. I says, I was only 9. So, I said, that's why colonial times was different. The words we use today or have today are not the same words we had then or understanding. So, yeah, it's pretty funny. So that is, that's basically, you know, what we want to do with regard to rewriting the trusts, going through the AG's Office of Public Charity. That's basically the meeting with the school committee, also touching up on why these things are and what the Trust Fund Commission is for. The review is our next order of business, is to review rewritten risk management policy and ratify it with corrections. I don't think you did any work on that or any changes or alterations to that you saw?
No,
Okay, so we're going to table that again.
just a couple of typographical.
Yeah, I know, like
things.
to change A, change this to and or, I know, I saw it.
Nothing substantive that.
Right, right. So, just to go over real quick. Let me see. I wanted to, okay, so, Richard, let me just do this here. All right, so on October 30th, Mylene sent to me, hold on. All right, if you go to, the Finance Director Treasurer's file, you'll see Bartholomew, Town of Lunenburg, new account PDF.
Yes.
Okay, if you click that open, oh, sorry, wrong thing. My bad. Sorry about that. So,
TF Portfolio Holdings?
yeah, hold on, I went into the wrong one. Hold on. Okay. Lunenburg Prudent Trust. See what it says?
Yes.
Okay, we click that open. Okay, so if you want to read the ending market value on that is,
Yeah, it's $87,872.73.
okay, and do you want to read the total of the net earnings?
Total
It's right in the center there next to the red marks where
net
it's,
earnings were $501.13.
okay, so $501.13. And that was what we had earned between what we told you before, when Bartholomew told us we were operating at roughly about a 12%, okay? And if we look at the total funds that we have at 87,000, and we've taken in 50113 in the last 3 months. Where are we at, percentage-wise? Oh, you gotta do the, I thought you were better than that than I am. I was gonna say, I use my calculator.
It's after 5 o'clock.
Hey Siri, tell me something. No. So 10% is 8,700,
Yeah.
right? 5% would be 4,350,
Per year, yeah.
right? So that would be per year, right? And if you look at, we have an increase of $501, that's going to tell you what we took in the last.
287, yeah, so basically it'd be like 2,000 over 87 on an annual basis, so.
Right. And this came out 9/30, just so you know. So March, April, May, June, okay? So they're running on a quarterly from the, I think that, I'm wondering if is he doing it from fiscal to fiscal? No, he's not doing it fiscal to fiscal. He's doing it, he said January 1st to December 31st, right?
Yeah.
So that would mean,
The earnings were essentially less than 0.5%
right,
for that 3-month period.
right. So there's less than 0.5% here, but they told us over the last year was 12%? Because they told us at the meeting that we were at 12%, right? Annually?
Yes.
So if this is 0.5%, what's going on? So is that 12% over all the funds, and we're only looking at our portion of that 12%, which is 0.5%?
But if it's pooled, it shouldn't matter.
No, that's what I mean. That's why I said I think there's a skewing in the numbers. So now I'm going to let you look at another document.
Or the portfolio went really south in the last.
I'm going to show you. So, where is it? Okay. All right, so now I'm going to show you the portfolio as of 10/14, okay? So here's the portfolio. Oh, there it is. Okay, so go down in the same document, right in the center there. It'll say Lunenburg TF Portfolio Holdings. Do you see it? Right in the center, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down from the top.
Oh, I resorted mine by a different,
Okay. Well, it says Lunenburg TF Portfolio Holdings. Just look at the time. It'll say 6/12. Because I just sent it to you.
it's not in the share?
It's in the share. It's in the share. It's in the finance director documents. Lunenburg TF Portfolio.
TF Portfolio Holdings.
Yeah, I do that too. I'm like, let me scroll.
Yeah, I gotta-
Why didn't I just type in the freaking search bar? I do that all day long.
Okay.
I'm like going, I know that file's here somewhere. And then I'm like, oh, I have a search thing.
It has the equity, and domestic equity, international equity, alternative bonds, yes.
Yeah. So this is your portfolio of investments, okay? And what it's showing here is, it's saying that if you look at the number down the bottom, okay? This is what comes under, these are all the trust funds. See the number down the bottom?
Yeah, the total principal, 2,031,824.
Yeah. Right. So that's why I said, is that when I'm looking at that $500 over a 3-month period, this is 10/14 is when this was drawn. And she gave us 9/30 is when she gave us the update that says only $500. So there's either an accounting issue, because this is saying for the year is 17%, isn't it?
Well, this is showing, there's the current yield distribution rate of 2.7.
Right. Which is, again, back to where we were. Okay, but I believe this yield is the quarter yield, not the annual yield. And that's where the 12% comes in. I don't think that is, like, remember when he explained it to us? And then he said that, no, you're at 12% annually, and they started doing that last year. But what I seen on the original form in the top corner, that percentage was not correct to the overall annual percentage. He said that the document that I'll give you will show you what you're doing quarterly. Because if you see here, it says here, 4/11/2025, okay, is when this was put out, which is the first quarter.
That was the purchase date. That's yielding 4.77%
Right,
combined.
right, but do you know how they change it like I said, remember we talked about what are they changing each quarter, and what's the investments? What's the change in the strategy? Are you leaving long-term, you doing short-terms? Remember, because we were talking about fees with ETFs and all this other stuff, we were like, whoa, hold on a second. Do you know what I mean? They're like, no, we don't do that. We were like, oh, thank God. So this is what I'm looking at. So I'm going to talk to the treasurer about that. Why does that say 500? And what's the time frame on that spreadsheet she sent me? Do you know what I'm saying?
Is it from November, is it from,
Well, she
September
says this
30th
one
to
here was
October
printed,
14th.
this one here was printed 10/14, see the top? As of 10/14/2025, prudent trust funds with the account number. You see what I mean? And then if you read the other document is 10/30, which is
9/30?
9/30, which is before this,
Right.
which says that it only gained $500. So either that's not been updated, not entered. I mean, this is going to require me to go back and look at the March document, listen to what Bartholomew said again, and then come back here. But I just wanted to share this with you and let you know that it's here.
Yeah, that's 0.6% that it earned.
Yeah.
According to what looks apparent
Right.
on the statement.
That's why I
It's
said there's something,
in
somebody's.
3 months,
some-
it's gone up 0.6%, annualized 2.5%.
Right, which is what we said before, is what's the problem? Why are we so conservative at 2.5% a year? We're not even keeping up with inflation, if you remember the conversation that we had with Bartholomew, and that's what it appears that I'm looking at here, but Bartholomew said that it was changed, and you're at 12.25%, I think he said. Okay, so still, I have paperwork coming out of the treasurer's office that's not reflecting true numbers. That's a problem. Yeah, I know. Keep shaking.
Yeah, I
your
don't know
head.
if, I don't know if that is just actual earnings or the value, because
Well, see, that's
the
the
equities
thing.
will pay dividends, and is that part of that earning?
Well, that's what I mean.
But the value of the stocks under holding have gone up 6%.
And this was
And
the
it's
document,
only giving you the yield.
this was the document that he didn't, this is the document the treasurer just gave me. This isn't the same document that Bartholomew gave us when they were here. So she's giving us the update to the same old document from the last document, which is reflecting the same number of 2.54. That was the number. Okay, that's what that number is reflecting. 500 is 2.54% of 87,000. 25 goes into 87.
Annualized, yeah.
3 annualized. Yeah. Do you see my point? So still, the software that the town is using is not the proper software. This is good for me to see the holdings and what they're investing in. You know what I mean? Which this shows me what
That may be
they're.
what's been actually yielded back. in
That's correct.
cash.
So the form that she gave me is not.
Depreciation of the underlying equities is not part of that
Right.
return number.
Right, so we need the one from Bartholomew, not the one that the town has, because the town system is not the same form that's being printed and given to us.
It's like that represents actual collected cash from dividends. that
Right.
are paid as part of the underlying, or the yield on bonds and such have been received in that period of time.
Right, but that doesn't help us.
No.
But again, like I said, that's why when Bartholomew came here, they says, no, don't look at that, that's not right. That's what he said, that's not right.
Well, it's not, it doesn't show the unrealized gains
right.
on the portfolio, on the underlying.
Well, it says on there, it does, but it doesn't, okay, on the form from, on the spreadsheet we just looked at. It shows you all that right there. Now, if you look at the spreadsheet that Bartholomew gave us a couple months ago, you can see the vast difference between the two. Just open the one from a couple months ago, right? So if you look at the one now, and then you go back and you look at trust fund expenditures, right? No, I'm sorry, not trust fund expenditures. Oops. Yeah, okay. So we'll have to go over that again.
We need some clarification on what.
Yeah,
exactly-
we'll have to go over that again, because I don't think that it's where it needs to be. All right. Any questions?
No.
All right, so we're still going over the rewriting of the proposed written operating policy because we're waiting for the application to get approved. That's old business. That's number one there. Update to the application. Again, I think I gave some update that we're going to include in there, something about the filing of people's DD 214s and what are approvals as opposed to disqualifiers. We've already discussed that we have a vacancy. We'd really like somebody to join us. That'd be great. I think everybody understands the goals of this commission is to make sure that we are operating when we are not operating. I think that's the major goal. When we're not operating, people can still receive a benefit from the trust. That there is some kind of, temporary trustee transfer. Do you know what I'm saying? Which is not going to, be a conflict of interest. And so that money can still be reviewed and given out. In a trustee capacity, again, what folks have to understand, ready? When you're a trustee, this is what you do. I don't go and say, oh, no, we're going to make this, we're going to do this, and he doesn't either, ready? The Uniform Trust Code says, this is the duty of a trustee, don't break it. That's what it says. Don't break it. Oh, by the way, now you know why I talked to the Criminal Bureau. If you break it, this is what happens to you. That's what I got out of them, because I wanted to know, how do the violations get handled in municipals? You know what I mean? If there is a violation of mishandling of trust money, because we're questioning some of the way the money's been spent in town, and we want to know how that gets handled, and they're the bureau that has all that information, the civil and the criminal, because this is how they look at it. They look at the criminal first to see the culpability, and if not, they consider it civil, and then they move it on, and that's how the investigation goes, if there's ever needed for an investigation. They look at the highest, failure, you know what I mean? Where it was intentional, to the civil matter, where it's kind of like, do you know what I mean? That could be handled locally, you know what I mean? Or you could handle it through, a mediator with the Attorney General's office or whatnot, do you know what I'm saying? As trustees. Okay, update on our interns. Like I said, that's still, we're not really following through with that at the moment. It's not 100% necessary at the moment. It's an idea that we want to keep on the table. That's why it stays there. And real estate investigations, still looking into that, looking at a lot of town property, reading a lot of wills and trusts in probate court. So, the week of Thanksgiving. Okay, next is our beneficiary comments. We have no beneficiaries here. I don't see anybody on Zoom. So, nobody popping up on Zoom there. So, in any case, Richard, where are we at?
So with the next scheduled meeting falling on the 27th, which is Thanksgiving, do we want to do it on the 25th? I don't have the
25th
schedule.
is a Tuesday, and I think the select board meets that day.
Okay. 24th?
That would be a Monday. Yeah, we might be able
Planning
to,
board? Oh, planning,
well, planning only comes if they have an agenda, like to give something out. I don't think they really hold a regular meeting.
I don't know what their regular
Yeah.
schedule is, but.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we tentatively look at Monday on the 24th? And then if that changes, obviously it'll reflect itself in the agenda.
So, next schedule for Monday, 24th of November,
Yep,
5, same time, 5 PM
yeah,
here,
yeah.
okay?
All right, so that'll be what we'll tentatively do, and like I said, we're gonna kind of jump around here the next month and a half or so on our meetings, but next month, we shouldn't have a problem with having it on the second week. There's no conflict or anything with the second week of next month? Okay, but other than that, yeah. If there's any public comment, we'll take public comment. No public comment from the public. I don't see anybody on Zoom. There's no public here. There's no treasurer or finance director here to give any kind of comment. Is there any public comment from the commission?
I have no public comment.
Okay, well, it's 6:32, and I would entertain you to make a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting, Mr. Chair.
I would like to second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Our meeting is adjourned. It is 6:32 on November 13th, 2025. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us here at the Lunenburg Commissioner of Trust Funds. Thank you.
Good night.